Hello, 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 and welcome to this episode of the Great British Mickey Waffle, and it's May 2021. For some bizarre reason, Ben has let me host this month. I'm a little out of practice, so as Miranda would say, bear with. I can almost smell the summer breeze and the longer sunny days to come here in the UK, and we've been allowed to leave our homes. And some of us wafflers have even been out, so things are looking up. So, who's here to waffle with me? I think we may have a full house for a while. So, hello to John.
Hi, Claire.
Hiya, John. Nice to see you. Jill.
Good
and
evening.
Peter.
Hello.
Got Sammie.
Hi.
And we've got Ben and Becca.
Hi, Claire.
Hi. How is everyone? Is everyone okay? Is it sun shining in your neck of the woods?
It's just
Sometimes.
a bit dark.
I don't know. I've got sunburn on the back of my neck.
Oh,
Nice.
Sorry for
I don't
some.
know if it's neck of the woods, but it's the back of my neck.
It's such a British thing, isn't it? As soon as the sun comes out, we're all out there and forget the sun cream and get
That's
burnt.
exactly it.
It's all about vitamin D. It's very important.
Golf course town, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yep. I'm suffering from tree pollen at the moment.
Oh,
It's tree pollen season, yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight that here at the Great British Mickey Waffle, we're pretty busy. If you haven't managed to catch our show from the 15th of April, it is an unmissable one. We had the pleasure of sharing a waffle with the three amigos, the Panchita, Jose and Donald of Disney content on social media, friends of the show, the team from After Hours. It was an amazing and quite a long conversation with Carlos, Colin and Jason. And if you want to giggle and something to brighten your day, grab a cuppa and find it on your podcast provider of choice. For the video of the recording, you can find that on our YouTube channel, Great British Mickey Waffle. It's worth mentioning that all of our shows are also uploaded to YouTube, so you can see our lovely faces whilst we record and waffle. For those of you who want to see the eye rolls, sniggers, and eyebrow raises that take place. You can actually find links to everything we do, including the weekly Wafflers Wednesday shows, the once-a-month Wafflers Assemble lives that happen on the third Friday of every month, so set your reminder now for Friday the 21st of May, plus our monthly shows on the 1st and the 15th of the month via our website, gbmickeywaffle.com, or via links on our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Finally, Boris has now allowed us outdoor seating at the Wafflers Arms, so you can grab a chair and connect with others in our Facebook community, and you don't even have to order a substantial meal. There are lots of fantastic friends over there with whom you can share the stories of your favourite Disney moments, or even just a photo of your drinking vessel on choice on Mug Mondays. The doors are open wide. The beer garden has some lovely new tables and chairs, so we would love to see you there. Phew, now I know why I don't do this bit very often. There's so much to remember. Ben, let me know if I've forgotten something.
No, I think you covered it all.
Oh, I need to lie down. I need a couple of tablets and a lie down.
Just to keep it simple, if you just go to gbmickeywaffle.com, you'll find everything.
Yeah,
Thank you. Why didn't I just say that?
I think as well, though, Claire, I think the Wafflers Arms has been such a really good place to actually meet lots and lots of people who watch our shows and listen to our shows. So if you haven't already, have a look on our Facebook community. Join us in the Wafflers Arms. We've been serving all the way through. We've not been bothered about all of these rules and all that. Get people in the pub. That's what I say. But it'd be lovely. It'd be lovely to think that somebody listening to this month's show can come and connect with us on Facebook as well.
And it is bring your own drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was keeping that bit quiet.
On the other hand, no tipping.
Yeah.
That's also true.
Don't mention the war.
I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it. Sorry.
So back in April, we waffled a lot about our favourite restaurants that are off property. If you haven't listened to that episode, do go back and hear about some of the gems that you can be found when you venture to the easy-to-reach surrounding areas, particularly the US 192, International Drive and Sand Lake Road. all completely accessible if you have a car or are happy to Uber or Lyft. They're definitely worth a visit. One of the things that we love about a cheeky Chick-fil-A or an off-brand Olive Garden is the value for money that you can get when dining away from Disney restaurants. The pleasure of being in a park, resort, or Disney Springs comes with a bit of a price tag. And whilst paying out of pocket is one option, to help guests stay within the confines of Walt Disney World, it was born, the Disney Dining Plan. But does the DDP, at any level, of which there are now 5, offer value for money? Is it a way of helping you budget? And is it ever free? John, I think you've got some views.
As always.
Oh dear.
As always, have you noticed?
Surely not.
Oh, thanks, Claire. I'm going to start off with just a bit of a reminder to everyone listening and watching that at present there isn't any dining plan available at Walt Disney World. And although I think many of us are already thinking about 2022 holidays, and there does appear at present to be signs that it will return. So this could end up being a discussion that really does help that sort of holiday planning for the future as well. I've got to say, we've made fantastic use of the so-called free dining plan during on-property stays on a number of occasions, and living up to my reputation, which I think is totally out of place. I too was rather curious as to how the costs stack up, and that was I actually getting value for money. Now, the dining plan itself comes in many guises. The quick service dining plan, which you get 2 quick service meals a day plus 2 snacks. Standard dining plan is 1 quick service meal, 1 table service meal, and 2 snacks. They've introduced this plus dining plan because obviously a counter service and a table service a day is not enough. So you get 2 meals a day, and you can either choose whether you want those 2 meals to be, they can be table service, and that's where you get your best value for that, and 2 snacks. The deluxe one is 3 meals a day, which I've got to say I'd be intrigued. I'd love to. I know lots and lots of people go for the dining plan, but I'd love to read, and I have read some trip reports from other people who've gone on sort of the deluxe dining plan. I'm not sure I could actually eat that amount of food. But however, all plans, you'd be glad to know, come with a resort's refillable mug provided as well, which obviously when you've got kids is the biggest, most cost saver of the lot. Anyway, we've actually found it difficult, and like I was saying, to eat like a table service and a counter service in a single day. So the regular dining plan is the one I'm really going to focus on. Really, for us as a family, it's offered flexibility, and indeed, when we originally booked for one trip, we paid the extra to upgrade from the quick service dining plan, which is the cheapest option, and then we actually upgraded to the standard one, again because we felt that we were going to get better value for money. The choice of food opportunities are immense. There's so many incredible restaurants to select, and it's all been covered up front in the cost of your holiday. So actually, if you're staying on Disney property, you can get that cost paid, and you're not thinking about what you're going to eat and so on. I think the thing that's important to remember is to be a little bit clever in how you use the dining plan. Obviously, eating 3 meals a day at a self-service dining plan place will not bring sort of good value for money. So, Sammie, I was thinking if your chicken nuggets sort of habit is needing fed, you're not really going to make the most out of that. And I think that's really where you've got to sort of question whether or not it's right for you or not. I would also say you also need to think about the tip side of it. I know we just mentioned that previously, but tips are something that are a total necessity in Walt Disney World when you've got somebody having to wait on your table. Now, I started to make some notes of the costs to make it clear to understand that paying out your own pocket and it costs in every dining location within a Disney park is actually quite excessive now, to the point at which I don't think we as a family would actually choose to dine out every day if we were in the parks. And I think to us, the dining plan has actually given a chance to enjoy that opportunity to think about where you want to eat, just without thinking about how much it would cost. And it's also worth noting that the dining options at Disney Springs, if you end up paying out of pocket, are a little bit more competitive with other off-site dining locations. So there's that option there. But we compared a 5-night stay on site. We chose carefully, dined at some wonderful places. Also enjoyed the fact that we felt we could eat and drink at leisure without thinking of the cost of the holiday. And it paid for itself and more. And I've got to say the daily cost in 2020 was £60 in UK prices per day per adult. And if you remember that a Disney adult starts at 9 years old, it can get rather pricey if you're paying for it. So we actually recognised that the free dining version of the dining plan more than covers that additional cost of the on-site resort stay. So yes, it's worth it for that. We actually eat differently on a park day when staying off-site. And we also know that during that part of our holiday, the food expenditure will certainly be less than £60 per person per day, which then begs the question, would we pay for a dining plan? And the answer to that is a definitive no, I don't think we would. So free dining, is it worth it? Well, it actually does add up. And when you choose to stay on site, free dining, it does have the hidden cost of tipping, which you really do need to keep in mind. As a 20% tip on Disney prices is a whole lot different than a 20% tip at Miller's or a Longhorn's prices. And we've eaten in places that we would never have paid out of pocket for. And as a result, I would definitely grab that opportunity for free dining if and when it returns. But what about you guys? How's your dining plan experiences been? I know we've all had very different ones. It is to me, it's one of those amazing bits of your whole planning for your holiday. You know, when you actually get booked, you then realise that you can start booking your dining experiences, 3-4 months out and all this. And you've actually got that opportunity where you sit down and you think, well, I'd like to eat here. And it's like a bucket list, isn't it? So go on, tell us a bit about yours.
We've done this dining plan twice. We paid for it once and got it free once. And I don't regret paying for it. The convenience is great. We booked what we wanted. We've only done the standard dining plan. We haven't done the cheaper one or the more expensive one. The more expensive one is 3-course meals a day. Yeah. That's too much even for us. Even for us. Go on, Gill, you say.
Well, to be fair, though, I think if we ever did the deluxe, which I don't think we would do signatures every night. So that's 2 credits every night. So we wouldn't actually have 3 meals a day. But we managed to do 5 signatures each time, both times when we did the DDP. So even with the standard DDP, you can do signature restaurants. Mm-hmm. You just do a bit of credit juggling because there'll be some days you might be off site. There'll be some days you might not use your credits. For example, we had a day walking around Food and Wine Festival. So obviously we didn't do a table service meal that day. So there are spare credits floating around. So we managed to sort of juggle those and do 5 signature meals in a fortnight each time.
And we've never ended up with any credits left over.
Oh,
We've
no.
always planned it.
You can't do that, Peter. That's part of the fun. That's part of the fun. Make sure you spend every last snack credit.
Or you go to Goofy's on your last day and just bring back a suitcase for the snacks.
Yeah. Nope. We've never had to do that.
Food and wine.
Food and wine.
Food and wine is the best way to use your snack credits.
Snack credits, yeah.
Because most items, food and wine, are way above the value of a snack credit.
Yeah, the alcohol isn't included though.
No, that's the downside.
That is the only downside.
That is another.
Talking about the snack credits though for food and wine. I remember the first year that we did food and wine, and we were staying at Old Key West, so we had standard dining plan and a DVC resort, which was fantastic. So we had the best of both worlds, really. And we entered food and wine. I think we had like 3 or 4 days left of the holiday, and we had stored up our snack credits between the 4 of us, thinking, we're going to do food and wine. We're going to eat loads of food. And I think we went into food and wine with like 104 snack credits and 3 days to use them. And I was literally on... I think I was on Twitter or Facebook or something, like spamming Lou Mongello going, if you want some food, come and buy me because we've got snack credit. Because I was thinking, what are we going to do with it? So we literally for like 10 days been storing them up, and then the kids wanted like a Mickey waffle or whatever. We would be like, we'll pay for it, and then we know we'll have snack credits left at the end of the holiday. And genuinely, I would never do that again, because the amount of times we've gone, no, we'll just pay for it. It's only like $3. We'll just pay for it. And then you've got all this stuff at the end. And I think for me, that was one of the things that I found hardest, was actually being able to use them where you've spent a couple of days at Universal, or actually after about a week, you're like, I can't eat any more food. I just can't. There's so much food. We were taking it was when you used to get the dessert with every meal, whether you wanted it or not. And like, we were taking them home with us and shoving them in the fridge. And who wants dessert for breakfast?
But then you don't use a snack credit or a credit the next morning, because you've got dessert from the day before.
There's only so many times you can eat like one of those cupcakes for breakfast or a carrot cake cookie. It's great for a couple of days, but after that you start to feel a bit ill. I actually ended up buying lunch for a couple of families. We were in Cosmic Rays, we were in Starlight Cafe, and there was a family behind me in the queue, and I think there was 4 of them, and they were ordering a meal, and I just turned around and went, look, I'm going home tomorrow. I've got 18 counter service credits left. Can I buy your lunch for you? And they sort of looked at me like I had 2 heads. And I was like, no, seriously, please. I've already paid for this. Please don't give Disney any more money. Just use these. So I paid lunch for them, and they were so grateful. And you get that little bit of feel good Disney magic moment, which was cool. And then I did the same in the kakigori stand in Japan. That I was sort of saying, does anyone want a kakigori? I've got these snack credits. This crazy lady.
Free food for all.
Literally, I was going up the queue going, can I buy it for you? Can I buy it for you? I've paid for these snack credits. And people were saying no.
Because people don't trust people so it's for free. It's like, well, no.
Yeah, and
this is a trap somewhere.
Exactly, like 3 people said yes, and I was like, seriously, they're not going to get used. I'm going home tomorrow. I cannot eat 40 snack credits.
Yeah.
So
we mostly didn't find it was too much food, because I think it depends what you get as well. The posher the restaurant, the smaller the portion, basically. So the signature restaurants, while they're still bigger portions than we get in Britain in a restaurant, it's not mountains of fries. So what we tended to do is have breakfast with 1 credit, with our quick service credit, and then not have anything till dinner. And then our dinner was, was the sort of, the quiet, relaxed evening meal.
Or we might buy a cake with a snack credit somewhere with a coffee or something. We never ever have ever been home with snack credits over.
No. See, last time we just spent an entire day eating around the world at food and wine.
Yeah.
See, I think we've done signatures as well.
Like Ben said, it's Goofy candy was made for snack credits when you're coming home.
Yeah. And Ghirardelli's as well. You can get the 4 bars of chocolate for one quick service.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you run into the issue of where am I going to put them? Because by the time you bought those Rice Krispie treats, they're quite big. They don't weigh much, but they're quite bulky.
You shove them in your pockets. You put them everywhere.
You can also pick up the packs of popcorn from Caramel Coocher as well, because they're snack credits. They're huge.
These little things.
But they're nice.
By that point, I've got a bag that's stuffed with stuff I bought at the outlet. I can't fit any more in. There's no room.
This is where you try and work out. You think, okay, what can I leave behind, and what's more important, clothes or snacks?
Shoes.
Leave behind toiletries. You can buy more toiletries when you get home.
How many of you have got home and you've taken like the shoes out of your bag and you tip them up and like all the candy and stuff falls out from that you bought, and it's like shoving it in anywhere.
The best thing to bring food back in was the box you got the Banshee in.
Right, okay.
The thing is, the box it comes in, it's got flaps that open. So the thing is, you can open it and shove all the food and everything inside. You close it all up, and there you go. You just carry it on as hand luggage.
I have to say, we have used the car seat bag a few times and had a slightly heavier than usual car seat on the way home.
Good idea, that. Yeah.
I think something else that we're not afraid to use a snack credit for a drink, if I'm honest. We will if I want a drink and I've got a snack credit, I'll use it for a drink. I don't care. It's partly about having the convenience, paying ahead of time, and being able to eat where we want.
It's really good because then when you're budgeting for a holiday, everything else you think about, and we've done it 3 times.
We've done it three times. Paid for it once out of pocket. Got it free twice. We've only ever done the quick service.
Yeah.
What does make it slightly more worth the money now than it was a few years ago is that you can now get alcohol.
Yep.
Yeah.
We made use of that on our last
We
trip.
did make use of that last 2 times.
I'm pleased to hear that.
And this is possibly the wrong thing to be saying on a Disney podcast.
I know what you're going to say here.
But if your kids are fancy a breakfast and you're on resort and the fridge is in the actual restaurant area, they've got cans of beer for like $9. But you can actually get a can of beer with your breakfast. Now, obviously, you don't have to open it. So you go and get the tray for the kids' breakfast because they're adults. Yeah, kids. Yeah, it goes in the bag. It doesn't get drank for breakfast. I hasten to add, but it's like I said. If you max out the value of it, the kids can all go and have a Coke, and they'll have a Coke for breakfast.
They've got their refillable mugs.
Get your refillable mug. I'll have a coffee. Let's do that refillable. But let's get 4 beers. We'll put them in the fridge in the room. We're sorted for later when we're around the pool.
Yeah, that's so true.
But it's
also it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Fortune. Yeah, but
I mean, we used to pick up a spare bottle of drink, pop it in the bag, and use it around the park. A bottle of water with breakfast.
Yeah. You do look a bit of a plonky as you go through the breakfast queue, and everyone's there with the sort of coffees and all this, and you've got like
coffees and orange juice, and here's my beer.
John's there with 4 beers.
It's not a nice feeling.
John, I had a beer on the Eurostar train at 10 o'clock in the morning. Come on.
Oh, 10 o'clock. That's fine.
That's all right.
That's not morning. That's almost
you're on your
afternoon.
holidays, Gina.
If you're in Italy, that's expected.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
At 11, there's something wrong with you. It's interesting what you say about drinks, Peter, because I agree with you that actually some of the best value for snack credits can be in Starbucks. So we worked out quite early on that some of the big frappuccinos, and you can get any size you want. You know, you see people spending a snack credit on a tall, skinny latte, and you're like, hang on a minute. You can get
a large.
What's going on here? If you're going to do that, then you can get, a tall, a grande, a venti, and you can actually, if you ask them, a lot of the time they'll do you a Trenta, which is bigger than the venti. Yeah. They don't have it on the menu, but they do have the cups, and it's still only 1 snack credit. So you can get the kids like the big chocolatey chip frappuccino things with the cream and the sauce, and but
and all the extra syrups and all of that are included on the dine. You don't normally pay extra for
so you can get like
a
bucket of this stuff for 1 snack credit, and actually it's like a meal in itself. So I would say that some of the best value, because the Starbucks drinks specialty drinks are not necessarily cheap, and you you max out the snack credits in that way. That's what we tend to do.
And also the snack credits, you've got a lot of unique sort of desserts and food from like Halloween parties. A lot of them, majority of the special event sort of food is all snack credits. So instead of spending $8 on this special cupcake, there you go. Yeah. It's trying to work out. After we've done it, like I said, we've done it 3 times. The one time we paid for it, we did do a spreadsheet and we worked out
we
it was going to be cheap or not. And what is difficult for us is because depends on where we go, we can have table service and we get discount. Because we're doing quick service, it is difficult. Sometimes it doesn't make it as good value. But I don't know, I liked it, but I'm looking forward to doing a trip that I don't have to do the dining plan, or that I didn't do the dining plan. But just because I felt a little bit restricted that we were just having a quick service, I could only eat in certain places. I didn't have that sort of flexibility where, I don't know, with looking at our next trip, not having the option of the dining plan, it's mean I'm looking at restaurants that we haven't looked at before. So it's just, it's maybe we should have gone for the full dining plan previous year, but we go for what was free at the resort.
Maybe, although I'm fairly certain the first time we went, the reason we had so much left over was because my sister, who was sharing a room with us, didn't eat anything for the whole 2 weeks unless she was with us.
We had loads left over, and that I
don't know, or someone else was paying
I don't think she was eating. She couldn't have been. The amount of snack credits and credits for everything we had left over. Because we were keeping an eye on them. Thought, they're going down gradually. It's like it got to like a few days in and it stopped. Ours were going. They were going down, but
only not by much.
Yeah.
I think also you have to do the maths and decide what works for your party. I mean, we don't have children, so it's not like you're sort of having kids sharing meals. Also, we don't go when it's hot and when you don't want to eat, so we go in the winter, so that's not a problem. And we like to spend a couple of hours, sitting in a nice quiet restaurant, relaxing. That's our kind of chilling time.
That's part of our holiday.
Yeah, that works for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other people will be different. It's what works for you.
I think that's one of the things, Gill, is that actually because the credits are pooled and they're not allocated to individuals. So as a family, we get the credits to use for 4 people. Now, Millie is obviously, she's 8 now. She was 5 last time we had the dining plan. And actually certainly a counter service, a credit is a credit is a credit. It's not differentiated between adult and child. Yeah. So it was easier for us to buy her like a side order of something, because that's still massive for a child. And then use her credit for something else. And actually in some of the table service restaurants, because she didn't want very much to eat, or she was happy to pick off our plates and have a side dish, which was only like $5-6, we could then reallocate her table service credit at a different time, which meant that if we went to another place, we could use it. I think it's about being creative with how you use those credits, and there are some little cheats that people do where you buy an adult park ticket for a child, which gives you adult dining credits. But I think if we were going now, because Millie's 8, we would probably do that, and we had dining plan. We would buy a part, for the £20 extra for the ultimate ticket.
Doing that way, Claire.
Yeah, you then get adult dining credits, which you don't use for the child, but that bumps up your adult credits, so you can go to more signature restaurants and things like that. So there are lots of little tricks, and they're not cheats. Everyone does them. They're just little hacks that people can utilise. And I think that. One of the things
I actually think, Claire, I think I think we need to make this clear to everybody. It isn't a way of cheating.
No, not at all.
It's actually a way, and it's within the whole dining plan system is there to actually be utilised. It's not cheating, and I know Americans are very, very much. When you see how they will go and dine, one of the best bits of advice we received was we were dining at Citrico's, and we're told. Tell you what, you might want if you can afford to pay out of pocket rather than paying for the kids, pay for a child's meal for both of them. And I'll tell you one thing: the look on my lads' faces when this child's meal turned up, I was just like, no. Can we go to Mackie D's on the way home? It was just like, when you're thinking, okay, that's gonna cost us a big breakfast in the morning, isn't it? And it's one of them ones where you're thinking, okay, it did save the credits, it did sort of do it, but actually in a signature, it goes against you in a little way from a kid side of things, But sorry, I'm cutting across it in a way, but. It's not a case of cheating the system, and I feel vehemently about that. It's about actually making use of the rules and making them very fairly work for you as a family. I think that's
I mean, you're paying for an adult ticket, so you should get adult
absolutely. And I think if you're prepared to do that, it's the same as buying your 18-month-old child a flight seat. You don't have to do it if you choose to use that money, then you get the benefit of it. So I think that there are all sorts of ways of maxing the plan. I don't necessarily think it's ever free. And interestingly, when you look at the American prices, quite often at the time that they offer free dining, or they did offer free dining, they also offered quite substantial resort discounts at the same time, 30-35% resort discounts. And when you did maths, actually it was better not to have the free dining plan, but to take the resort discount and then pay out of pocket. So I think it's that we don't always have those same sorts of levels of discounts that are available to us.
We seem to have a different. It'll alternate. It'll go from free dining and then 3 nights free. We never get them at the same time.
No.
In America they have quite a various lot of discounts, like 3-4 months out. And they offer them both at the same time sometimes, and depends on what trip you're looking at. Because some stuff genuinely will go for a 2-week stay, where in America an average is probably about 4 or 5 nights. Sometimes even less.
I think that the deals are built for different markets, aren't they? So,
we get better value park tickets.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Miles. Yeah.
But also, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go on. I was just going to say we did actually manage to get a discount when we went to SSR, Saratoga Springs, in that was actually 30% off, as well as free standard DDP. So that actually made it cheaper than if we'd stayed at Port Orleans like we did before and upgraded the free quick service dining plan.
So that's an interesting point, Gill, because you can do that. So you can stay at a moderate resort where you would normally just get, if you were getting a free dining plan, or you would get the quick service dining plan, but you can actually pay the upgrade, so you can have a standard dining plan. You can even upgrade to the deluxe if you're really hungry. So I think that, just because you're choosing to stay in a value or a moderate resort doesn't mean that the other elements of the dining plan you're excluded from them. I think it's challenging at the moment because there isn't. There's just one thing that, John, about the deluxe dining plan that I really struggle with, and I cannot work out how it is good value because it's so much food, and I just can't see, unless you're, literally Hank Marvin when you arrive. I don't really understand how you can eat that, and if you do eat that, how have you got any time to go in the parks and do any attractions? Because you must just be sat in a restaurant all day every day.
I guess though, I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess though, if you're staying at a deluxe resort, which you probably would be, and you have a table service breakfast, which wouldn't need to be massive, if you had like eggs Benedict and coffee and juice, for breakfast, value? And then not have anything for the rest of the day and have your signature meal that night, there's your credits.
It's still 2 credits for the signature meals.
Yeah, of course, but I just can't see. I think for me, I have a challenge of the balance of yes, it would be nice, but actually I want to know that I'm getting good value for money at the same time. So would I use a table service credit for eggs Benedict at Ale and Compass? Probably not. I would go to France and get a sandwich or something, a breakfast croissant that would be probably just as enjoyable. I wouldn't have to pay a tip. I'm not quite as tight as John, but I do like to know that I do like to know that I'm getting good value, and I can't see the value in the deluxe plan. I just can't see it.
And this new sort of intermediate, sort of the plus part of it, where you're going for that. You two, I'm still not sure.
I like the flexible option of it. I like the flexible option of it, that you can choose what you eat.
The thing is, though, even with the normal dining plan, you can use 2 quick service or 2 table service credits in one day.
Yeah.
You just have
absolutely.
You just have another. The table. You know what I mean.
And that's one of the joyous parts of the planning of it, isn't it? It's, when you're going to have a signature meal, it's going to be 2 credits. You're then planning another day where you may be going for 2 counter service meals in a day, just to offset that sort of that expenditure. I love that. I think it's a great part of the planning. And one of the other things I would add is the fact that I think the free dining in the UK bookings usually only kicks in when you stay for 5 nights or more. On site as well. I think that's maybe
most people do, though, don't they, from the UK, to be fair.
Well, in a way, Sammie, we originally, when we first stayed on site, we ignored the dining plan because I personally didn't really think it suited us because the kids were that much younger, and we only stayed for like 3 nights and enjoyed the on-site stay. But then once we sort of looked at it, kids a bit older, 5 nights, we did 5 nights. That's great, and I can take Disney dining to that extent. And I still go back to what we said last month about the off-site eating options as well, because there's a balance to be had, and I really enjoy the off-site stay, as we've spoken about in previous shows as well. It's that balance. We tried to do that split on-site off-site bit. I get fed up eating Disney food after probably 5, 6, 7 days. It all kind of tastes the same, and you get a little bit sort of, I don't know. You get a bit the limited menus. It doesn't matter where you go. I love going to Sanaa because it's something completely different.
Satili canteen for us.
Yeah. You just need to keep throwing something different.
You sort of get food fatigue, don't you? And I think I get fatigue.
I think you mentioned it earlier when you have like too many carrot cake cookies for breakfast. You get to a point where it's like I've had too many cinnamon rolls. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. But it's that sort of thing, isn't it? You just sort of out of habit. You've been in your hotel for a little while. It's been a few days. You've always gone back to the same place instead of going somewhere else for breakfast that morning. And it's just sort of sometimes you need something in your holiday just to do something different.
I mean, we try and plan our meals really carefully, so we never really go to burger and fries. We never go to the beige food options. Really, we tend to go for
enter Sammie.
We're a bit more like Peter and Gill in terms of the fact that we go for signature. And we really enjoy that. And, I am very lucky in terms of the fact that I know my kids will behave and they'll enjoy it and they appreciate the, bone and ribeye at the Yachtsman and things like that. So I don't have an issue using the credits for signature. That would always be my preference. I think that the other thing that we tend to use them for, which I probably wouldn't pay out of pocket for that often, would be character dining. I think that John, you mentioned like a 5-day split stay. If we were going to do that, we would absolutely bang out all the character dining in that first 5 days so that we don't have to pay out of pocket for it, because actually
I know what you mean.
The food sometimes, depending on the location, can be a little bit circumspect, but the character interaction is worth it. Now, I have a bit of an issue with that, and I think that's probably a conversation for another day. We need to put character dining on the Wafflers Wednesday list.
Quite happily.
I think that I struggle to find the value in paying for slightly lower standard food for just for the sake of being able to have a cuddle with a character. That's that probably doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. I think that
that's fine, because there's no chance of that in these COVID times anyway.
Exactly.
So we'll go back to pre-COVID.
It's away from a distance now.
But I think if you're looking at the two places you can get the really good value is signature, because you can pick anything off the menu and not worry about the cost, or character dining. And those, if you're not going to do either of those two things, I think it's quite challenging to make the money worth it.
You can, Claire, don't you worry.
John's like, I've just picked the most expensive thing on every menu.
No, you know something? No, I wouldn't. Peter, you were going to say something.
Yeah, there's something that we've been kind of skirting around and saying, but not really saying, which puts people off the dining plan, and that is having to plan, having to work out how you're going to use these credits when. I
think people like us actually quite enjoy that.
I love the planning. It's my favourite part.
I think what happens is people either fall into two things. They'll either like to plan and they'll use all the credits, or they'll look at the dining plan as a way of prepaying so they don't have to worry about spending anything else. And I think it's, if you fall into any of those, the dining plan is for you, because you'd have worked out through your spreadsheet, whatever calculator you use, to work out whether it's worth value for you, whether you're going to buy it or not, or whether you think it's free. Or you're going to be happy paying a little bit extra, but knowing that you're not going to have a huge bill at the end of your holiday to pay, where you've just been paying for food that maybe you have gone for a bit overboard and just eat at the boathouse every night.
I think also for me there is a little psychological aspect in that it's very easy to sort of do the maths and do the spreadsheet and think, oh well, if I ate here, I'd eat this, and it would cost that, and blah blah blah. But I know that if I was paying up front and I actually had to look at those scary prices, I would think, oh, I fancy that, but it's too expensive, so I'll have this. And I know myself, I would end up doing that.
The way we did it is we looked at the most expensive thing on all of the menus when we're doing the calculation and put that on there. Because then, worst case scenario, if Disney decide to up their prices, even if I wasn't going to eat the most expensive thing on the menu, I've got the average of sort of what I'm expected to spend.
Yeah.
Not everybody is like us. Some people like to wing it, and some people don't do the research that they need to do. So when they get there, they feel a bit lost. So, and that's exactly the same with the dining plan. Some people don't do the dining plan because they just can't see why they should spend all this time planning all this.
I think you're right, Peter, that if I was someone who didn't plan and I rocked up in Walt Disney World with 2 weeks worth of dining credits and table service and counter service, and then try and do a walk up to a table service every day to try and use that, I might find that quite hard. And there will only be a certain array of restaurants where you can get a decent walk up and there's something on the menu so you could end up eating in the very similar places. You don't want to end up in your hotel restaurant every night, which I think unfortunately may be people's experience. So there is a requirement really with the dining plan to think ahead, to look at the menus. And you know what, we love that bit. We do a bit of a family summit where we sit with a couple of screens, pull up the menus, get a takeaway, sit there and chat. So put some stuff on the list, review it. Well, actually, no, there's nothing on that menu that we want, so we'll take that one off the list. And we come up in the course of an evening.
Yeah, I was going to say the least foodie person here still, even though she knows she doesn't like anything, still goes through every single menu.
Just in case.
Do you know what the worst thing is?
Just in case I decide I want to give it a try.
Once you've done all the planning, you've decided where you're eating, about a month before you go, Disney have changed the menus. And you have to do all of it again.
Yes.
Because you think I'm sorted. I've got this reservation. I'm happy with it, and then you just go on social media. It's like Disney have updated their prices or updated all of their menus for their quick service, and you think, oh no, here we go again.
How very dare they?
Yeah. I've got to admit, as a family, we're very, very bad at this. When you've actually planned in advance of where you want to go, and there's one or two restaurants that unfortunately get called on a regular basis about even. I think one of them is actually, it's been whilst we've been on holiday and we've just decided, no, it's not going to happen. I won't name the place because I don't think that'll be fair because it might return in a future episode.
I think I know what it is because I think it's the same as ours.
Yeah.
We've got two actually that we've cancelled on the trip.
Yeah, and as a family, you decide, so I really don't fancy that. And then so you go onto your My Disney app, and you're actually looking down the list and said, I think, no, I'll go somewhere else tonight. We'll go and that's the other part of the enjoyment. And it's not about sticking to the plan that you had whilst you were in the UK. It's knowing that you can go and you can change it. You can change things. On our last trip, we were sort of caught a little bit on the hoof and missed out on the breakfast at Be Our Guest. And just totally unwittingly. But what we ended up doing was every single day was just checking on the app. And then one day it was there. And we actually made it for breakfast. And it was just like, when you're thinking, that's what you want. You want that flexibility. And it's, I think a lot of people take the dining plan as something that, well, I've planned it. Therefore, I must have to go to that place on that day because I won't be allowed to change it. You can change it as much as you want.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that if you change a signature, you need to give them 24 hours ahead. Otherwise, it's $10 per person.
Yeah, but that's fine. Yeah. That's good manners, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think as well. I think and I think this is maybe where anybody listening to this, if you've got any kind of reservation, even if it's a fast pass reservation, if you're not going to use it, throw it back into the system because there's always someone else who's actually either looking for somewhere to eat or looking for that fast pass that you're not going to use. It's about being fair, isn't it? And I think we're all of a kind. Where, like Claire said before, if you want to use your credits to pay for someone else's meal. That the dining plan allows you to do that. They might look at you as if you've gone out like Captain Claire, but that's part of your holiday, and I really think that I'd love to see it return. I really would.
Yes,
it's something that for us as a family, it's enabled us to eat in some beautiful places and meet some absolutely fantastic people in these places. Some of the servers that we've come across have been absolutely immense, and I would hate for that part of it to disappear.
And if it can make people's trips more affordable, because a lot of people depend on having dining plan, because when you think of the prices of the hotel hasn't changed, but you're actually getting your food included, it's not another sort of £1,500, £2,000 that you've got to add to your budget to think of your family of 4 being able to eat while you're out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I would never, I don't think it's a shock, but I would never pay for it out of pocket.
No, I don't think I could do this.
Because I'm not a foodie. I'm not that kind of person. But the 2 times I've stayed in a value resort, it has been while the Disney dining plan's been running. So I've had the one where it says it's a free breakfast. So it's like the lowest on the dining plan scale. It's basically I get 1 counter service for every day of my trip.
Yeah.
So
the good thing is you don't have to use it for breakfast.
No.
Yeah, and you don't have to use it for breakfast. You can use it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Like you can keep it and have like 3 snacks for it. You can do the same kind of thing. It's and I find that works really well for me because everyone knows I just like nuggets and fries. So.
Going back to what you
wouldn't
said
be any other way, Sammie. Don't you worry. Yeah, so absolutely brilliant to know that there's so many different flexible options, guys, and I know for a fact, as I said before, if it's free dining, I'd love to do it. It just adds so much more to an on-site stay. So I'm gonna turn it on you. What's your thoughts, Claire? What do you reckon? Free dining, paid dining? It's
really hard because we rarely stay on site. However, I think if it was free and we were planning to stay on site, of course, that would be great. And I would really, I really fancy a go at that plus dining plan. I think that would suit us as a family quite well. So I'd take one for the team and give that a try. Would I pay for it? No, I don't think I would. I think we'd just suck up the out of pocket cost, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we're the same. Peter and Gill, what about you?
Jill first.
Yeah, free, absolutely, no brainer. Paid, yeah, we've done it before. We'd probably do it again just to know that it was all covered and we could eat whatever we want.
I agree with Jill. Free, obviously, yes. Although the window of free dining got smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But yes, and paid, yeah, I pay for it. I think it's nice to know up front. We're the sort of people who like to get good value out of it. So yeah. Both.
No, good one. Go on, Sammie.
I think everyone here knows I'll take it if it's free, but there would never be a need for me to pay for it. Trust up, I could literally live on kids' meals for my whole Disney stay. So no, I would never pay for it. No.
Yep.
And Ben and Becca.
I'll let you go.
You're in quite a difficult position anyway, aren't you? Because if you DVC,
we can pay for it. But it's a different rate as well.
Yeah.
We have to pay it at the American price.
Yeah,
dollars. So sometimes depends on the exchange rate whether it's better value or not. And it's without doing if we did the calculation, sometimes we will pay for it. We will do it.
For us, it's very much about the calculations at the end of the day and the exchange rate.
Working out roughly how much we think we're going to spend, and it's just. If we're eating off site occasionally, we won't pay for it because we get our 10% discount.
But so free, yes.
Yep.
Pay for it, maybe depending on the situation, and if it was just a quick service, possibly because we don't get discount on quick service meals, so that's consideration to take into something to take into account.
Yep.
No, fantastic. Thank you.
Well, now I'm hungry.
Quickly, go get something to eat for the next section.
Why do we always talk about food and drink? Why do we always end up talking about food and drink? It's just one of those things, isn't it?
I think as well that we've ended up planning ahead for Wafflers Wednesday as well.
Yes,
I know.
So
I think there are like 3 things.
It's the case that we've got about another 3 Wafflers Wednesdays that we can talk about more food and more drink. It's even better.
Absolutely. So if you've got any thoughts on the Disney dining plan, you can get in touch with us on any of our social media channels, or you can do the old school thing and email us on our email, which is waffleon@gbmickeywaffle.com. So next, we have a new segment here at the Great British Mickey Waffle that we hope you will enjoy. It's a discussion we are affectionately referring to as Come Disney With Me. In this section, each month, one waffler will present 3 of their favourite Disney park things and ask the team here to mark specific elements of the experience out of 10. After all the scores are collated and averaged out, we'll have a brilliant leaderboard for each of our favourite ways to spend our time, or more importantly, our money. Each month, one person will present a ride or attraction, a restaurant or food or drink location, and an experience, show or parade. And each of those things has a criteria for the grading, and those are as follows. Now, Ben, I think you've helped me out here with some fantastic graphics, because I get this is a little bit tricky and you know, my explanation may not be perfect. So pictures are sometimes helpful for me as well. So the first thing that we're going to look at, the criteria for the ride or attraction, is the queue line, the ride vehicle, and the overall immersion of the attraction. So that's going to be, each one of those is going to get marked out of 10. So with the restaurant or the dining location, the things we're going to be rating are the menu choices, the value for money, and the overall theming of the location. And then finally, our experience, show or parade, we'll be looking at the accessibility, such as the time and the venue, the experience length, and the audio, which is important for those things. So wafflers can choose to abstain from voting if they haven't experienced it or they don't feel they can vote. But since we're averaging the scores out at the end, all participants' votes will be counted and nothing will be disadvantaged. So I hope you've been listening carefully and have taken notes. I will make sure Ben shares the slides somewhere, so if anyone wants to be able to review them, and we'll minute it for next time's and we can review it. It almost makes sense in my brain. Let's hope we go. So because it was my job to explain it, I'm going to go first, and I'm going to ask my fellow wafflers to rate some rides, some of the things that I enjoy in the parks. So my first one, the ride that I would like to present to my team to vote on, is my favourite attraction, the Jungle Cruise. So with that Jungle Cruise, my favourite attraction, the one brings all the glory of the corny one-liners, dad jokes and cheesy moments to life, well, to plastic. The skippers are renowned for their talents and creative approaches to delivering what is essentially a pre-written script. I know we touched on the queue line area in the Wafflers Wednesday queues in part 1 back on the 14th of April. But for me, whilst the line is predominantly a basic switchback, the genius is in what you hear. The DVC radio chat and music is brilliant.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to AWOL airwaves on the DVC.
The ride vehicles take the form of cruise boats, hopefully staying on top of the water. But as you know, last year there was a slight Titanic moment for one of them. And you can deduct a point for that if you wish.
It's certainly an experience.
Absolutely. That was the extra credit that people paid for that particular trip. There are 12 boats in Disneyland and 15 in Walt Disney World, with a maximum of 9 of each in operation at any time. And they've got great names. So they range from Amazon Annie to Zambezi Zelda. And in our house, Mongol Millie is our favourite, funny enough. It's worth noting that they changed the names of the ride vehicles. So each of those boats gets a new name at Christmas during the Jingle Cruise overlay.
Believe me, I I think they must be in denial. So you were waiting for it. I knew you were. Right here we have Jingle Bell Rock. You know, a lot of people take it for granted, but I think it's sort of our bolder attractions. Just my true sentiments, of course. Out here on the Build On.
The overall experience and immersion with this attraction is widely the responsibility of your skipper, steering the vessel along the oh-so-Disney track under the water, shooting at animals that are plastic, and delivering a script originally written back for the opening day in Disneyland in 1955 that wouldn't be out of place in any stand-up circuit routine. It still makes me howl with laughter regardless of how many times I hear it, and despite the consistency in the words being spoken, every experience is different. So team, let's hear your scores for the Jungle Cruise. A score out of 10 for each of the queue, the ride vehicle, and the overall immersion of the experience. John, I'm going to come to you first.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. No. Oh, good grief. Oh, flip it back, Claire, you've done me again.
I also think that I'm allocating you as IC mathematics for today, so you're going to be our Carol Vorderman and keep all the scores for us.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought you were going to go first.
No, I'm going to go last.
Oh, okay. I tried to save you, John. I tried to throw you a lifeline.
Thanks, Sammie. Yeah, I'll just put Claire in for a 10 across every column.
You don't want to influence the fights, do you?
Yeah, John, if you're Carol Vorderman, you can have 3 from the top and 3 from the rest of the
other 5. Or maybe just a consonant.
Oh, I'm not going there because I'll get into trouble if I start talking about Count now, because it's not Carol Vorderman anymore, is it?
No, it's not. It's Rachel Riley.
No. Yeah.
Go on, John.
Sorry, my mind's gone elsewhere now. So that's all the very mention of Rachel Riley. There you go. Right,
we're looking at the queue line, the ride vehicle,
all right,
and
sorry,
the
thanks,
overall
Claire,
experience. Just to remind
queue
everyone.
Line. Right, queue line. I'm going to keep this quite short because actually it depends on what time of the day you ever used to do Jungle Cruise, and the queue line I think we said it in one of our Wafflers Wednesdays. The queue line is often one of those that is completely ignored by people. They don't kind of see the subtlety of it, and it is often missed. And my whole vote for each element of this ride is actually being sort of negated by the changes that they are currently putting in place. Now, everything that we really mentioned on that Wafflers Wednesday, including the exit from the ride, has suddenly had a lick of paint over it.
I know.
And it's not what we all love. And I know the reasons for them changing it. I completely understand that. I completely understand the fact that the ride is changing. I get that. I think if we have a similar conversation about Splash Mountain, we'll all get that. I just feel that we're now meddling with something that was an opening day attraction, which it comes as no surprise probably to anyone, I don't like. And so my actual marks for each one of these is going to be less than it would have been probably 6 months ago. And that's to me is a sad thing, because I love the Jungle Cruise. I love the fact of how you described it as well, Claire, because I think for a lot of people, you just go for the backside of water gag, and you just like, you see what, that whole thing about being in denial, just every single time, just cracks me, and it's just like, and it depends on who you get as the skipper of your boat as well, which if you get somebody who is absolutely top notch, it goes into a completely different stratosphere. So I'm going to go for the queue. I'm going to be quite controversial here. I'm going to go for a 5 because I think they've just annihilated it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've only annihilated it in the past couple of weeks. For the vehicle, I'm going to go for. I'm going to be conservative with a small C. I hasten to add. I'm going to go for a 6. But
Do you
the overall,
not think the ride vehicle's fun though? Because there's always that moment of jeopardy of, is Grandma going to fall in the water?
it's the problem is you never know where you're going to flipping sit.
Yeah, that's true.
And that
Don't sit
really
in the middle. Don't climb over the middle.
It really bugs me that, and it also bugs me when people stand up at the end and they want to get off and you haven't sort of. But that's a whole different conversation about people who annoy you in the parks. Now that would be a fantastic.
That's a Wednesday.
That's a fantastic Wednesday night discussion.
Do you think it's more of a queue? It's the queue to get off the boat. It's like
don't get us
which order you go.
But you have to just follow the instructions. Don't cross over the middle. If you're on the left, you go out the front. If you're on the right, you go out the back. It's really straightforward.
And don't sit at the back
it's quite
when it's
simple
raining.
if you listen. It's quite simple if you listen. It's just like there's nothing difficult about it. But if you don't listen and you want to just get off first, you're stuffed. Anyway. So, overall immersion, however, I'm going to pay homage to what was rather than what now is. And it broke my heart just a few weeks ago when I saw all of those pictures coming from Walt Disney World of just what they've removed. And I felt so sad because it's messing with some things that you've grown to love over time. And I hope they retheme it. I hope they redo it. I'm going to go for an 8 for the overall immersion because actually the actual some of the lines, and they've got to keep the backside of water. They've got to keep the being in denial. They've got to keep the corny gags, even though they're not particularly funny. But they've got to keep it fresh, and they've got to update it so that you've got skippers on each and every boat who are still able to speak and provide a commentary that is not just a total script. And that's what keeps the Jungle Cruise what it is. It has to come from that skipper on the boat.
Thank you. Sammie, I'm coming to you next.
Hi.
Hi.
Thankfully I've had some time to think about it. Thanks, John.
see what I missed out on there, Sammie,
Weirdly, my scores are, no spoilers, but very similar to John's. We're going to start with Q, like John did, but I am going to go one less, unfortunately, and go with a 4 out of 10. John, I hope you're writing it down.
Sammie, I've got one job.
No, exactly.
I've got one job tonight, and that's it.
I'm gonna give it a 4. To me, it's very bland and boring. Like you said, it's switchbacks. That's all. There's some things. Obviously, there's the audio and stuff like that. But to me, compared to other queues, it doesn't hit the mark. So it's a 4. Next is the boats, the ride vehicle. I like the ride vehicles. I think they're super cute. I love that they all have really weird names and that they're very themed. Like you could see that boat going down the Amazon River or something like that. It's very on point. But it's a bit boring. It's a bit of a boring ride vehicle. Again, like John said, I'm not a big fan of the seating arrangement. I don't think it's the best. So I'm going to go with 6 out of 10 for the ride vehicles. And then overall immersion, Jungle Cruise is beautiful. Like who doesn't love Jungle Cruise, the ride as a whole? That all the corny jokes that no one else on the boat gets it, but you're sitting there yeah, I get it. Do you know what I mean? And it's great when you're sitting there with people who laugh and get it because you're you've been here before. You're my people. So I think for overall we got to give Jungle Cruise an 8.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gill, is Jungle Cruise the one that Team Wimp does?
Oh yes, Team Wimp definitely does Jungle Cruise. Yes. I will start off with the queue line. I've only really done it with the fast pass So I haven't really had much time to actually appreciate the queue line. And I get what John has said about things that have been removed, but I'm hopeful that they will add more things and that there'll be all sorts of little references and cheesy gags and so on. I'm sure that element is not going to go away. So I will give it a 6 for that. Ride vehicle, yeah, it looks great. All right, it's not kind of, all singing, all dancing. It's a boat, but it does look like the kind of boat that you would expect to get. So yeah, I will give that a 7. And immersion, yeah, absolutely. It is an immersive experience. All right, you don't ever forget that you are looking at, really corny animatronic animals, and it's not a real Jungle Cruise. You never forget that. But it's all about the skipper. Like everybody said, it's all about the commentary, the cheesy jokes. Yes, some of those jokes need to change, and they will be, but there'll be new ones coming in, which is great. I think my favorite still is we're going to turn down the Amazon because it's way too loud. And it's just little things like that. So yeah, I'm sure it will still be a gag fest. I'm going to give it an 8.
Thank you. Good scores for the Jungle Cruise so far. I'm very excited. Peter, while we're there in Wales, what's the verdict from the Wales jury?
But the Welsh jury. Okay. Yeah, for the queue line, I quite like the queue line. I quite like its simplicity because it feels genuine. It feels like it would feel. So I'm going to give that a 7. For the boats, and again, they feel genuine. They feel like the boats that you would have. So I'm going to give that a 7. For the immersion, I'm really pleased that they're going to start putting in the characters from SCA, from the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, because that needs to get bigger. And I'm going to give it a 9.
Yeah, good. That's it.
Ben, coming to you first over there.
Oh, it's a difficult one with the queue. I'm going to be harsh, and I think it needs a lot more. It's with, I know, regarding all the stuff that they've removed and all the discussion we had about it last sort of on one of our Wafflers Wednesday. I'm going to probably give it a 4, just because I don't think it's just quite a boring queue. We were in it a couple of years ago for 45 minutes, and it felt like 45 minutes, even though we were talking to people. It just felt like you weren't going anywhere, and it's just like back and forth. And you have that bit where you just think, oh, this queue looks really short, until you see all of it, and then it's like, oh no, this is definitely longer than you think. So yeah, definitely a 4. So I'm hoping that they can do something with it when it's having its refurb. So ride vehicle, I think, deserves a 7 because it is what you'd expect. The only tip I would give is don't sit at the back uncovered when it's raining, because I did get soaked.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there's one bit at the back in the corner that it's not covered. So,
that wasn't even the Titanic version you got drenched.
No, that wasn't. No. Well, that's the risk factor. So into it. So do I give for the ride immersion that sort of extra point? Because this is like a Titanic cross versus Jungle Cruise.
Wow.
So
only when it's raining.
I think what makes the attraction good for a good ride is the skippers make it, and we've had some good ones, but we've had some outstanding and amazing ones which we've left compliments for, and for that I'm going to give it a 9.
Cool.
I think there's so much that the attraction offers that it deserves a high score.
Becca?
Most people have already said everything that I could probably say. Yes, the ride queue is a little bit boring, and it's usually a bit loud, so you can't always hear what the audio is saying, which is a shame because the audio is brilliant. So I'm going to give the ride queue a 5. I love the boats. I do love the boats, and I love as it's coming up and I'm standing there thinking, oh, which boat are we going to be riding in today? I love that part of it. So I'm going to give those a 7. And overall ride experience, I'm going to go with an 8.
Fantastic, thank you. So all I have to do is give my scores now. So interesting. I do agree with some of you about the queue. There is that moment where you go around the back and you suddenly see the 6 lines of switchbacks and you're like, hang on a minute, I didn't sign up for this. So I am actually going to only give the queue from my point of view a 6 because I love the audio, and I think that some of the stuff they've taken away sadly will affect that, but I'm sure they'll put other stuff in, and I think there'll be more SEA stuff to come, which is very exciting. I'm just glad that they're not putting I love Dwayne Johnson, but I don't want to see him in my Jungle Cruise in Walt Disney World. I love him, and I can't wait for the film, but I just don't want to see an animatronic Dwayne Johnson somewhere snuck in the trees. The ride vehicle, I love the boats. I think they're fun. I think they're made to look old. They're made to look scratchy. The sound of the motor when you get on, and they obviously the skippers, they don't really steer them because they're on a track, but the throttle and the fact that you get that loud.
They're on the track. Nobody told me.
John, can I just let you know the animals are plastic as well?
Spoilers! Oh, flip it out, man! Do you know somebody's listening? You've spoiled someone who's listening is sort of sitting there going, "You never told me this, Dad."
One of those poor.
You never told me this. You thought it was real animals. Yeah.
But I love the noise of the throttle when they move the boat. That slightly old school engine. I think it makes a fantastic noise. I love them. So I'm going to give the ride vehicle an 8. And then the overall immersion. The thing I love about Jungle Cruise is that everyone can enjoy it. So from small child to grandma, the jokes are appropriate in terms of there's nothing risque. There's nothing adult about them. So everyone can enjoy that. Actually, I think that my children probably enjoy the jokes more than the adults sometimes. And the irony in it, if you got a child who gets it, it's hysterical. I think that the whole experience of having a live skipper and a cast member being given that opportunity to really bring their A game to the experience, and they're doing this over and over and over every day. And I get that probably every time they do it, it's slightly different because of the interaction on the boat. And so it's one of those experiences that the more you give, the more you get. And I love that. I think it's that personal interaction with your skipper makes a huge difference. Yeah. So for me, even with all the changes that are about to come, I am going to give it a 10 out of 10 because it is my favourite experience. Cool. I think that's no surprise.
No. Did anybody ever experience it with the gun?
Oh, what? Will they shoot the elephant?
Yeah.
But they shoot it and they, Oh, really? I thought they did because then they say, "Oh, that's as dead as my love life," something like that.
I don't think it happens every time. It depends on.
Yeah, it's we had it on 2019. We had it on our Christmas.
Yeah, we definitely had it in 2019.
We have never had them shooting the gun.
Have you not?
No.
I think that's what shows. It's like every cruise is different.
Yeah.
And is the zebra always asleep when you go, Peter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Well, yes.
It's just having a nap.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I'm making friends with the lions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love it. It just makes me laugh so much. So, John, have you been able to do the scores on the doors for us?
I have. I certainly have. Yeah. Q ride. Cumulative score was 37. The vehicle ride 48, and the immersion was 60, which gives an average for each of them is 5, 7, and 8. And the overall average score for the Jungle Cruise was 48, which I think is pretty. I think that's pretty fair. That.
Yeah.
I like that.
70. That's not bad.
Out of 70.
70.
I think that's pretty. I think that's a pretty. It's a good way of doing it, and I don't know. This has got an opportunity to run. So if you're listening to this for the very first time, and it's what 2021. We could still be doing this in 2027.
Yeah.
I think this is
this particular
this.
program in 2027. Yeah.
We're still
We're still here.
Okay, right. On that very happy note, let's move forward. So let's talk about my food and restaurant option. So I'm going to give to you to rate today one of my favourite places to go in Walt Disney World, the Katsura Grill. So this is a counter service option in Epcot. It's found tucked away up the hill in the Japan Pavilion. And this is our go-to lunch location for any Epcot day in our family. The menu covers fresh and tasty cooked options from sushi to udon noodles and ramen, teriyaki bowls with sticky rice, to the infamous chicken cutlet curry, which in the UK is most like the katsu curry you might find somewhere like Wagamama. And the new menu item, the Mechi's Katsu Slider, which I have yet to experience. Miso soup and edamame are both side options, and the kids menu, which is a massive thumbs up from me, just has slightly smaller versions of the adult meals, so you're not feeding your kids fries and burgers all the time. You know, actually you can have they can have a cutlet curry, they can have a teriyaki bowl with rice, which is slightly healthier and something different as well. And the kids meal also comes with a cookie and a drink, and it's only $9.50. Desserts aren't particularly plentiful, but the drinks options are really good. So if you like a Japanese beer, they have Sapporo, Kirin, and Asahi all available on draft. I think the best thing for the location for me is the seating options, both the inside area, which is not particularly large, but it is well air conditioned. And by the time you get all the way around World Showcase to Japan, you definitely need some air conditioning. The outside tables, though, are blissfully hidden away amongst the trees at the top of the hill behind the koi ponds. And they actually offer some of the most beautiful and relaxing areas, I think, in all of Epcot. It's shaded by the trees, and then in the evenings, and when the sun's gone down, they are actually illuminated by hanging lanterns. It's really beautiful. And there's even a small restroom up there, just saying. Not many people know that. Price-wise, as a counter service, the adult entrees range from about $9.50 up to $14 at the most. They're all fantastic value for money, from my opinion. The food is plentiful and without question one of the tastiest counter service restaurants on property. So that's my summary of the Katsura Grill. What's everyone's thoughts? And I need to hear your scores for menu choices, value for money, and the overall immersion of the location. I'm going to go in the same order. John.
You're going to go with me first again, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. I tell you what, I'm going to start off. I'm going to be controversial. Katsura Grill is the worst place on Disney property known to mankind. Please do never go there. It's rubbish. Right. So if everyone else is listening to that, and then okay, they can put that to one side. This place is just Remember what I said, because it's never tremendously busy. It is the most idyllic place to eat. The theming within the restaurant, the theming, and you need to look very, very carefully. Look up at the ceiling. You will notice something exceptionally special. Friend of the show, Jason Knapp, would also like us to mention, because it's his one place that he does point out in Epcot, that if it's raining, the actual runoff from the roof of this actually allows you to hide just near the window area and actually let a storm pass you through whilst eating, which again is just totally hidden amongst it all. But it is the most beautiful place, and I've got to say, I really struggle to find a negative about this. Even going from the restrooms where they are, looking at the koi as in the gardens that are in front of you, it is a magnificent place to take photographs of fireworks. If you want a lot of the theming that is within the pavilion as a sort of a drop to your pictures. Yeah. As a restaurant itself, I'll give you my marks, and I'm going to probably shock you, Claire, because I've eaten in a lot of places. The menu had no present. The menu's limited. The beef udon there is just it's just wonderful. It's not on the menu at the minute, but it will be by the time I go back again, because I'll make sure that I phone ahead, because it is and like you said, the katsura chicken is a massive favourite in our family as well. The menu's just amazing. When we go back to talking about the dining plan and earlier in the show talking about seeking something that is completely different.
Yeah.
And this is counter service. This is something where you are, you're not looking at your burger options. You're not looking across at the China Pavilion where the Chinese option of food is, for want of a better word, limited. The menu in here, for me, I'm going to give a 10. The value for money in here, I'm going to give a 10, because for us it has been consistent throughout. And it's cheap as anything for what you actually receive. It's dead cheap, and the theming within one of my most favourite places within the whole of Epcot. It just takes you. You wouldn't even think you were in a theme park, and that says so much about the way as you walk up the hill, and you just kind of get lost. And I think that we talk about taking theme parks slowly, regularly, but as you come in, you just walk past all the goldfish, you just saunter through the different sections of the pond life, and you get to the top, and you're just lost. You're completely lost, and that's, to me, is where the theming of it just comes to a completely different echelon. The actual building itself is so well themed, and I'm going to go for a 10 there as well.
John, you're making me a bit emotional about this.
It's just amazing. Claire, you said it's your go-to place, and actually for us, it's one of the ones that it is standout, and as I would pay gladly out of pocket. It is just. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to go and eat. And you can and if you get a really nice seat towards the windows, it's beautifully air conditioned. You can just watch the world pass you by, and you're watching all these people coming in and out of the gift shop down at the bottom of the hill. You're watching
heavily laden with the stuff they do.
Yeah. You're watching people going in to eat in Teppanydo. I can't see a counter service that could touch it. I really can't, and that's where the value for it. But the theming, and I don't know, just ticks every single box. And I know already I'm setting the bar quite high for how I describe other places within where we're going with this whole thing. But nothing else is going to touch that for me.
Sammy.
Okay, well, I've never been there. I've obviously heard of it and looked at the menu many times, but as you guys know, I'm very fussy when it comes to food. So I'm going to obviously go by, reading the menu, looking at the prices, listening to you guys, pictures, etc., etc. So that's what I'm going to base my ratings off. And you've got to also remember that me as a food person, this is how I'm rating it. Mm-hmm. So what's first, Claire?
The menu choices.
Menu. So I think for a counter service, it's different, which is obviously a good thing for most people. It's themed, it has its niche, it stays there, and I think for people who have, like we were talking about the dining plans earlier on, it's a different counter service credit for them to use other than, the burgers and the nuggets and the this, that, and the next thing. But obviously, saying that, for me then, it's very limited. Not everyone can go there and get something that they like, unlike a lot of other different places. So for me, I think I'm going to give the menu a 6.
Cool. And then the value for money.
value for money. It sounds like it's very good value for money from what everyone's saying. Obviously, I haven't seen like the portion sizes or anything like that, but it sounds like it's pretty decent when it comes to that. So for value for money, I'm going to give it a 7.
And then the immersion.
The immersion. I had to look at some pictures. Looks lovely. It looks like there's a lot of like long tables. It's even inside. Looks like there's a lot of long tables. I'm not the biggest fan of those kind of, and like seating arrangements, just because I like to be like in a corner by myself. But yeah, I'm like, everyone leave me alone to eat my food. But I think the building looks beautiful, and what you were saying about the outside and everything, and it looks really, really nice. So I think for that, I'm going to give it an 8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gill, is it somewhere you've been?
No, I'm in the same position. I've not been there at all. I think our discovery of Japanese food kind of post-dates our WDW experience, really. But I mean, I really desperately want to go there now. In fact, if I could suddenly teleport myself somewhere, I would probably be there. It looks beautiful. The menu looks great. There's all sorts of things on there that I would love. So for menu, I will give it an 8. Because I can just imagine myself really enjoying the ramen, nice bowl of edamame to snack on. Tonkatsu ramen is always really, really good quality stuff. The value for money, yeah, it looks great value for money. So yeah, again, I will give that an 8. And the third thing was overall experience, was it?
Yes, theming.
Yes, yeah. Oh, theming. Yeah, theming looks great. And yeah, I'm a sucker for anywhere with good theming. So again, I will give it an 8.
8's across the board. Thank you very much.
And it's gone to the top of my list for my next trip now.
That's exciting. Peter.
You can probably guess that if Jill's not been, I haven't been.
Well, you might have decided to head up there yourself.
True. But looking at the menu, I love Japanese food. I really do love Japanese food. And the menu has a nice cross section of your typical quick Japanese foods. So it's very reflective of Japan. And so I'll give it a 9.
Value for money?
Value for money. With my Disney glasses on, as we all need to have our Disney goggles on, I think it's good value for money. I'll give it an 8. And I haven't been, but I've been up the hill and I've been around that area, gone through the gardens with the koi and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's in a really nice place. So I'll give it another 8.
Thank you very much. Ben, you're going to tell me you haven't been there, haven't you?
How did you guess? Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I knew he was going to say that.
I'm appalled.
Haven't been there, but it is on the list for our next trip.
I should jolly well hope so.
I finally managed to convince him to put it on there.
Yeah.
It's it is a place that I think we've looked at before, and it's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Sometimes Epcot's always been a funny sort of place for us to find food that we both agree on. We end up always going to Electric Umbrella through protest or somewhere we can get. I know, through like
it's gone now.
I know.
Of all of the options, that's what you chose.
I know.
There's normally an argument or something happens when we've got so hungry and it's hanger sort of happens.
Any wonder? It needs something to take into Electric Umbrella when it was there. I tell you.
Wow, I am actually gobsmacked.
It's not my choice, trust me.
Okay, yeah, you're quite happy that went. But yeah,
looking at the menu,
looking at the menu, actually, it looks interesting. It's something that I've looked into a lot recently, and there's so much choice than what I was expecting from what I've heard before. I haven't heard many reviews on Katsura Grill, so it's quite nice to hear, especially sort of John's sort of 10s across the board.
glowing report.
So yeah,
It's just a hidden gem, Ben. So
John, it was a hidden gem. You
I know,
just told
yeah,
everyone.
Ruined that,
it's
haven't
like,
we?
let's keep it that way, please. You know, it's just.
Yeah, when we get there in October and there's a huge queue,
We know it's John's
we'll know
fault.
why.
Yeah.
Blame John.
Yeah. With the menu choices, I think there is a lot of choice for everyone. I'm going to give it a 7 from what I've seen from a quick service as well. What's the next one? Value for money.
Value for money.
Yeah, it's very, very good value. Looking at portion sizes that I've seen from a few pictures, I think it's one of the cheapest sort of quick services that I've seen. So I'm going to give that a 9. And what was the last one? Immersion and theming. Seeing videos from Jason Knapp here with the magic and everything I've seen of Katsura Grill and the area around it, it deserves a 10. It is a place that I'm looking forward to exploring and seeing everything about it when we get there.
Fantastic. Becca, your turn.
Wow, I hate to remind you, but you have actually been there. Not into Katsura Grill, but the area around it.
I can't remember it.
I know. So yeah, obviously I've never been. I don't eat sushi, but there is 3 or 4 other things on that menu that I would quite happily eat.
It's not that kind of food, really, Becca.
Yeah.
Don't get put off by the sushi.
Oh no, I'm quite happy to eat teriyaki chicken and ramen and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 or 4 other things on that menu that I'd quite happily eat. So that's how I'm basing this on. How much on there would I eat? So I'm going to give it an 8 for the menu choices. Value for money, £9.50 to £14 is fairly good, I think, for a quick service. So I'm going to give that an 8. Maybe. Yes, I'm going to give it an 8. And it is a beautiful area. It's absolutely gorgeous. Well, I've never been inside the building itself is very in keeping with buildings from the Japanese countryside, shall we say? And from pictures that I've seen from Japan itself, the gardens are beautiful. They just are. They're gorgeous. So I'm going to give the theming a 10.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
We're doing well.
Pretty.
So I'll just round it off with my scores. So menu choices. This is one of the locations for quick service, particularly that I struggle to choose because there are 4 or 5 things on a quite a limited menu. It's not a big menu, but there are 4 or 5 things on there that I love, and it has been known for us all to get for us to share an extra entree between us because we can't choose. So yeah, we tend to maybe over order in there because it's also good. So I'm giving the menu a 10 easily because I can't pick. In terms of value for money, I think it's outstanding. I think I would preferentially choose this location over some of the other, certainly the other quick services in Epcot. I love Tangerine Cafe as well, but it's shut at the moment, and I don't. It's slightly. I think it's slightly more expensive, not a huge amount, but I think that what you get for your $14 is incredible, and the quality of the food is outstanding as well. And it's cooked fresh. You can see the kitchen; it's all done there. So a 10 for me, and I'm going the same way as John because actually that area is my go-to spot. I love the building, the little walk up through the koi ponds with the little bridge, and you can just stand there for ages and forget that you are anywhere near Test Track or Mission Space, and they're a world away, quite literally. And I think John, you brought up a really important point. If you wanted to stand up there and on that little bridge on the sort of the middle level, you could stand there and watch the fireworks, and you get the Tory Gate framing your photos. You get the
it's beautiful, absolutely amazing.
Just the feel of the temple beside you, and it's just you forget where you are, and I think that's important to me. So I'm giving 10s across the board as well. Not that I'm biased in any way. So John, I did, and everyone who gets their chance to present their items will, I'm sure, do the same. So,
Yeah.
John, what do the scores look like for
The
Katsura
scores? The scores for the Katsura Grill for the menu with 58 for an average of 8 for the menu. For the value, 60 for an average of 8.5. For the immersion and the theming, there's a total of 64 for an average of 9. And yeah, the overall score for the Katsura Grill is a massive 60 point. The average score is 60.6, which I think for a counter service.
Yeah, that's very good.
I actually think
incredible.
I think that's going to be a struggle for anything to beat that.
Yeah,
and it's well deserved. It's put it on your list. Put it on your list, everyone. You've heard us talk about it. Yep. Put it on the list. It's a fabulous place.
Fantastic. So let's move on, and I'm going to round off this section with my experience. And the one that I'm going to ask you to rate is the Boo to You Parade. It's probably my favourite Magic Kingdom parade, and it's one of the main draws for us to pay for the hard ticket price of Mickey's Not So Scary. Parade usually happens twice every party evening, usually between 8 and 9 p.m. and then 10 to 11 p.m. Weather permitting, though, the lights go out about 10 minutes before the parade, and you get to see the spectacle of the Headless Horseman trotting from offstage near Splash Mountain all the way down through Liberty Square and then around the hub and down Main Street, USA. And this in itself is an incredible sight to behold. The skill of the rider, the confidence of the stunning black steed, and the nods to the many different appearances of the legend through the Disney history is brilliant. The parades proper are, the parade itself is about 25 minutes, so it's one of the longest parades in Disney sort of history. Features some amazingly unique floats and characters and performers that you don't see in other parades. Particular mentions for the grave diggers, who create sparks and excitement for the viewers by scraping their shovels along the pavement in the dark, and then the live action version of the dancing ballroom scene and the hitchhiking ghost from the Haunted Mansion. I think the thing that really sets Boo to You apart from other Magic Kingdom parades for me is the audio, and my goodness, is that song an earworm. Once heard, never ever forgotten, and hopefully everyone is now humming it in their heads, because who doesn't want to be singing a Halloween song in May? To be fair, that's usually when the Halloween parties start now anyway.
Glad you said that, because I was about to. I was also going to go, Happy Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
It just totally gets
there. You can't get rid of it. So scores for and thoughts on Boo to You Parade. So based on accessibility, length of the experience, and the audio. John.
And you're going to me. There you go. And I'm actually gonna. My views are completely skewed on this. It's a fabulous parade. As somebody who keeps banging on month after month after month in this podcast, purely on the fact that Magic Kingdom is missing a parade of an evening. There is something missing when you have not got a parade. Disney, Mr. Chapek, please listen. Magic Kingdom needs a nighttime parade. It has to return, and to actually see it to come back for Halloween. And I'm pretty sure all the cast members, once you actually get to that sort of time, mid-August, when the first Halloween party starts, most of the cast members, it must just be an air of relief if you've been there for a number of years, that it in a way it normalizes Magic Kingdom. Because once the lights, once the sun sets, once everything sort of chills out a little bit, everyone gathers, and that's what's missing. Everyone's missing that gathering, and I know you talked about. I think we're trying to rate this on accessibility, which I think is kind of quite a. You could take it in so many different ways, depending on what the experience is. For this, the accessibility is just like, it is beyond what you would normally expect. It goes back to that nighttime parade bit where you actually stand there, you find a spot. If you've got kids and you're turning up a little bit too late, you generally find somebody who is very thoughtful and kind about you having children and will offer you a space. That's certainly, and because it's a party, there's less people than there would normally be for a nighttime parade. But there's also an awareness that seeing something like this, the Gravediggers in particular, the accessibility, and I think this is where we really. I'm going to take a point off, just simply because Magic Kingdom haven't got a nighttime parade anymore. So I'm going to give it a 9. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 for that. For the actual length, for the length of it, it's got to be a 10. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because for the audio, rather than giving it a 10, I'll give it an 11. So I'll go for full marks. I'll go for full marks. Because the audio. I thought you were
going to take a point off because it gets in your head.
You can't. You can't. The actual. It's difficult to explain to people who've possibly only been to Disney in the past few years. An evening parade, there's that air of expectancy. There's the air of expectation, perhaps. But the park changes and the lighting changes, and for the Halloween party, just as you get to that bit where everything goes dark, you get the Headless Horseman coming all the way down the parade route, and then the music starts, and it's just like it's immense. It really is, and I think you said it as well, Claire. It's the fact that some of the parade floats, just they sit in storage or they're reinvented just for Halloween. It's unmissable, totally unmissable.
Sammie, have you seen Boo to You?
Not in person. I've never been to Mickey's Not So Scary. So for me, accessibility, I have to buy an extra ticket to see it. I don't think so. It's not very accessible to me. Yeah. So for accessibility, I'm going to give it a 6. Because you have to buy a whole nother ticket to see it.
Yeah.
For what's next? The sound.
So the length of the attraction.
25 minutes is too long. Come on. 25. I don't want to be sitting there for 25 minutes.
Especially if you're paying extra for it.
Exactly. Like, give me something amazing but snappy. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Because there's so much else I have to do for that extra ticket. Like, I've got to go meet all the characters. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. There's treat trails. It needs to be concise.
Sammie, if you're watching at home on YouTube, just put it on fast forward.
Yeah, exactly.
It only takes 10 minutes.
But the thing is, if I was there in person, that's just too long. But I'm going to give it 7 for length.
And then the
audio. I mean, who doesn't love the tunes? We've all got them stuck in our head now. Grinning Ghosts. What a tune. We love it. But obviously in my mind, I'm comparing it to other audio experiences and stuff that could come up in the future. So I'm going to go for a 7 for
Thank
audio.
You very much.
Yeah.
Gill.
Yeah, I haven't done it in person. I've seen lots of videos. So again, I'm going to judge it on that basis. Accessibility, yes, you do have to buy a separate ticket. I think if I was going to go to the party, then yeah, sure, I would definitely make time to watch the parade. But yeah, because you have to buy an extra ticket, I will say 6 for that. And also, I suspect that the Christmas one, the earlier parade gets quite crowded.
It does.
So you probably need to go for the second one. Yeah.
Length of experience.
Length of experience. I'm quite happy with 25 minutes. That's fine. Again, if I was there, enjoying all the atmosphere and so on, I probably wouldn't find it too long at all. There's lots of detail. There's lots of different costumes. There's lots of different things happening and groups doing different things. So I don't think I'd get bored. So I will give that an 8.
And then audio.
Yeah, the music is great. Again, you've got snatches of things like Grinning Ghosts, which are fantastic. if you can also include other things that happen audio-wise, like the cadaver dance.
Mm-hmm.
They sing as well, don't they?
Do.
Yeah, audio, I'm going to give it another 8.
Thank you very much. Peter?
Yeah, as you kind of guess, we're really not Halloweeny people. So I haven't been. I've seen it on YouTube and stuff. So I'm kind of judging it the same. I'm going to take accessibility in a slightly different route. Because some of these things we're going to be talking about are shows where you have to be in a certain place and there's only so many people allowed in that area. Whereas this is the parade route. There's loads of places if you just it's really accessible.
Yeah.
Yep. The next one was sorry, what was the next one?
What's your score for that?
Sorry, for accessibility, I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
So the next one.
The length of attraction.
Yes, I've sat through Mickey's Christmas party parade, which is about the same length, so I have no problem with it. No problem at all. It's a good length. There's enough in it to keep you interested as it comes past. For the length, I'm going to give it an 8.
Mm-hmm. And then the audio.
The audio. Yeah, the audio gets in your head, but also from what I can see, the audio is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, you don't miss a thing. So I'm going to give that a 9.
Thank you very much. Moving to the southeast corner, we have Ben, your views.
Okay, well, we've done this before. We've done sort of booty parade, and it was amazing. I'm going to say accessibility of it. Yeah, I know you do have to pay for a ticket, but actually going with what John said, you're going to have less people in the park, and it's going to be a lot easier to see a parade like this than it would be queuing up with everyone else for the 3:00 Festival of Fantasy parade. So to see a parade in Magic Kingdom, especially a nighttime parade, some people might pay that little bit of extra money for, especially at the moment especially when there are less parades to see. And I think that I'm going to give it an 8 for accessibility.
And for the length?
Length, I think 25 minutes is perfect length. I think maybe I'd happily even be a bit longer, but I'm going to go for a 9.
Brilliant. And then the audio?
Audio, 10. Can't beat it. Really can't. It's still stuck in my head right now, and just thinking about it, it's like,
can't get.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning just wondering, why am I humming Boo to You?
Yeah. I'm going to send you a message in the morning, just happy. Becca, what do you think?
I love the Boo to You parade. It's one of my favourites, I think, out of all of them. So accessibility. I am going to have to knock a point off because while it is on the parade route and everyone that's in the park can go and see it, you do have to pay to get in to see it. So I will have to knock a point off for that. So I'm going to give that a 9.
Then for the length?
The length is a good length, actually. You don't get bored. There's enough there to keep you occupied and keep you entertained. So yeah, I'm going to give that a 9 as well.
And then the audio?
10. Got to be a 10 for the audio. That music is just amazing on that parade.
Thank you very much. So, John, just my scores. So accessibility, I think, is an interesting one because you're quite right. Everyone said you usually have to pay an extra hard ticket price to get in to see it. However, you do get 2 chances to see the parade for that extra money. Just saying.
Which is why it's a 9 and not an 8.
But I will say that the one thing I have experienced, and hopefully with COVID that this won't ever be an issue again, is when the first parade has finished, if you're anywhere on that parade route, so we've got stuck in Liberty Square so many times, you cannot move because there's sudden this surge of people moving to leave the park after the first parade. So I think I would take a point off for that because actually whilst the crowds they gather and then you get stuck, which it is a bit frustrating if you're trying to get somewhere else. So I'm actually
There's a
going to
bit of a planning. There's a bit of a
8.
planning clue there, Claire.
There is. There is. You
If-
have to think.
if you
And,
really-
the other option
if
is
you
to only just
really
do the
wanna-
late grade if you can.
Do the late parade and then max out the short queue times for the characters during that first parade, because people
Yeah.
do leave the park. So just a little handy hint tip as we go.
So I'm going to give it an 8 for accessibility in terms of the fact that you've got to pay extra and it can get a bit cloggy around the corners if you get stuck afterwards. Length, I love the length of it. I think the little bit of the headless horseman at the beginning makes it really unique. And I think that everyone says you don't get bored. There's something different happening all the time. So I love it. So I'm going to give it a 9 for the length, I think. And then audio, it has to be a 10. There is no other parade audio for me. Celebrate a Dream comes close, but I think for me the Boo to You is just so iconic, and I'm going to be singing it for months now. Every time I think of it, I hear it in my head. So
Do you know what, the only audio that I think comes close?
I know. Do you know what? I feel really.
Is the only thing that comes in my head that I think is as good as Boo to You is probably Hello Wishes.
Yeah.
Celebrate the magic.
Happily ever after. I feel a really bad host because I didn't look up who wrote it, but I think Boo to You is really unique and it's great. So John, have you done maths? What the score?
I have done the maths rather quickly.
What a guy.
Yeah, I'm doing all right with this. This is actually I've shocked myself in a way. The scores for the first one, which is accessibility, and Sammie, I thought your call there about being the extra ticket was a pertinent one, which I hadn't thought about as well. Because actually, I just thanked that it was actually turned up in an August trip of ours, and I'd never been able to do it before. But so we've got a score of 56 for accessibility for a average of 8. The overall length, 60 for an average of 8.5. The audio, 65 for an average of 9. And amalgamated score, the amalgamated score gives it an overall score of 60.3. Which is really, really high, surprisingly high. And do you know something? I think we're onto something with this. I think this is do you know what? This leaderboard is going to be red hot.
Yeah, this is going to be.
Can I just say something?
Of course you can.
I disagree with everybody who's moaning about paying the extra money.
Excuse me. I'll tell you why.
I really disagree. Because if I'm going to pay that extra money, I want something that you can't get anywhere else.
But it's today. I've got to, but accessibility wise,
but also to get a parade anyway, you still have to pay to get a ticket anyway.
You've got to get into
regardless if you didn't have a day, you'd still pay to get into the park. But you don't have to have a park ticket.
I think for the purposes of this, majority, if we're talking from our point of view, most of us would have an annual pass or an ultimate ticket. It's very rarely we'd be buying a day ticket, so therefore you would be paying an extra price. If you're haven't already got a park ticket, then that's a moot point. So I think Sammie's view is perfectly reasonable, because actually people from the UK may well have already purchased a park ticket. So
Claire,
that's why we all get a vote, Peter.
That's fine. I'm happy. I'm happy.
I just want to add as well, because Peter, I think your point is absolutely spot on. But if you remember, when we did the random question in the live show last month for April's live show, and we spoke about Halloween as well, there was somebody came on in the chat, and their point was they chose deliberately not to do Disney on one particular trip, and I think it was Simon N who was on the chat on that show, but they didn't have a Disney ticket, so actually purchasing a ticket for the Halloween party became their Disney fix for that particular trip. And it's a strange, it's like horses for courses bit again, isn't it? It's like you choose your trip, you choose your dining plan, you choose your hotels, like we've been talking about for months. And I find it's absolutely fascinating because your point, Sammie, was absolutely spot on. And I think we've all got to realise that.
And I agree with Peter. Like, if people are paying extra, they should expect extra. Yeah, but in terms of rating it, it's not as accessible as other stuff because you have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, good call. And again, going back to that live show, I think your knowledge of Halloween, particularly in the Universal world, was so valuable because. I think. I'm just hoping that something different comes up for the May live show. I must admit. Because,
don't worry, I've taken Halloween off the wheel.
What have you replaced it with?
At the minute, nothing. Oh. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So all I'm going to say is challenge extended to my fellow wafflers because I think that that's been really interesting and some pretty high scores that other people are going to try and have to beat. Thank you for that. So that's it. Our leaderboard has been started. I can't wait to see what everyone else comes up with in terms of their experiences to present. I think it's going to be really interesting and how we rank our favourites going forwards.
Yeah.
So I just want to take this time to remind our listeners and viewers that there will be a Wednesday live show every week on Facebook and YouTube with topics in May, including deluxe resorts and also our favourite Disney smells. And to thank my fellow wafflers for allowing me to take the helm this month. I apologise for the complexity of some of the things that we've discussed. And
you've done a great job, Claire. You've done a great job.
Hoping everyone's still with us. That no one's dropped off to sleep in the midst of all this. But thank you very much. I hope that next month we are up for some more of this exciting chat. And one day, you might even let me do this again. So thank you very much. So that means there's only one thing left to say, which is
waffle on.
Waffle on.
Waffle on.
Waffle on.
Thanks everyone for listening. Waffle on.